My phone rang at 6 a.m. on a Tuesday, and I knew something was wrong. My aunt's voice was shaking when she told me my grandmother had passed away peacefully in her sleep. I felt numb as I drove to my childhood home, memories flooding back with every mile. What I didn't know was that this day would expose a lie that had poisoned my family for 23 years. The house was packed with relatives I hadn't seen in years. My mother stood in the corner with her 3 sisters, all dressed in black, whispering intensely about something. I noticed my uncle Robert wasn't there, which was strange because he and Grandma were always close. When I asked about him, the room went silent and my mother's face turned white. Something was very wrong. 2 days later, we gathered at the lawyer's office for the will reading. Grandma had always been wealthy. She owned 3 rental properties and had a substantial savings account, the lawyer. An older man with wire-rimmed glasses cleared his throat and began reading. My mother and her sisters leaned forward. Anticipation written all over their faces, then came the shock that changed everything. I leave my entire estate to my son, Robert Mitchell, including all properties, savings, and personal possessions. The room exploded. My mother jumped up, screaming that there must be a mistake. Her sisters were shouting over each other, demanding explanations. I sat there frozen because I'd never heard Grandma mention having a son. My whole life, I thought she only had 4 daughters. My hands were shaking as I tried to process what I'd just heard. My Aunt Patricia finally broke down in the parking lot and told me the truth through angry tears. In 1968, before Grandma married Grandpa, she had a baby boy. Back then, being an unwed mother was considered shameful. So her parents forced her to give the baby up for adoption. She married Grandpa 2 years later and had 4 daughters, but she never forgot her first child. None of us knew he even existed. For over 50 years, she carried this secret alone. According to the lawyer, Grandma had hired a private investigator 15 years ago and found Robert. They'd been secretly meeting for over a decade while my mother and aunts had no idea. I felt betrayed, but also heartbroken for Grandma. She'd lived with this secret for 50 years, never able to talk about her first child, never able to mourn what she'd lost. My mother refused to accept it. She was convinced Robert was a con artist who manipulated a lonely old woman into changing her will. Within a week, my mother hired her own lawyer to contest the will. She told everyone Robert had coerced Grandma, taken advantage of her declining mental state, stolen her affection with lies. Family members took sides. And suddenly my peaceful family was at war. Thanksgiving dinner that year was cancelled for the first time in 40 years. I tried to stay neutral, but my mother saw that as betrayal too. She stopped returning my calls. Against my mother's wishes, I decided to meet Robert myself. We met at a small coffee shop downtown on a rainy Thursday afternoon. The moment I saw him walk through the door, I gasped. He had Grandma's eyes, the same warm brown that crinkled when he smiled nervously. He sat down across from me and pulled out a worn showbox filled with letters. Grandma had written him dozens of letters over the years, photos from their secret meetings, birthday cards she'd saved for decades before finding him. His hands trembled as he showed me each one. Robert wasn't after money. He just wanted to know where he came from. He told me something that made my blood run cold. When Grandma finally found him, she discovered he'd grown up in foster care after his adoptive parents died in a car accident when he was only 8 years old. He'd spent his childhood being moved from home to home, never feeling wanted or loved, sleeping in unfamiliar beds, eating dinner with strangers. Grandma had cried for weeks when she learned what her choice had cost him. The inheritance wasn't about money. It was her way of saying, "I'm sorry I couldn't give you the life you deserved. I left that coffee shop in tears." But I knew I had to tell my mother what I'd learned. She refused to listen. The court battle lasted 8 months and cost her over $40,000 in legal fees. Every family gathering became toxic, with relatives questioning each other's motives and loyalty. My cousin stopped speaking to me because I'd met with Robert. My mother's marriage started crumbling under the stress. She became obsessed with winning, with proving Robert was a liar. Meanwhile, Robert just wanted it to end. He even offered to split everything equally, but my mother refused, determined to prove he was a fraud. The final court date arrived on a cold February morning. The courtroom was sterile and intimidating. All wood paneling and harsh fluorescent lights. Robert's lawyer presented DNA evidence that confirmed he was Grandma's biological son. They showed the judge Grandma's diary entries spanning 15 years, detailing every meeting with Robert, every birthday she'd missed, every milestone she couldn't celebrate with him. They presented bank statements showing she'd secretly paid for his daughter's college tuition. They even had video recordings of their meetings where Grandma explicitly explained her wishes. Her voice clear and strong, saying she wanted Robert to have everything because she owed him a lifetime of love she couldn't give. The judge looked at my mother with such disappointment in his eyes. He dismissed the case immediately, calling it frivolous and emotionally motivated. My mother had lost. She'd wasted $40,000, destroyed our family's peace, and poisoned relationships over her pride and greed. She walked out of that courtroom alone. Her sisters wouldn't even look at her. I watched her get into her car and drive away, and I wondered if she finally understood what she'd done. It took my mother 6 months to finally call Robert. I was at her house when she did it, sitting at her kitchen table in the late afternoon sun. Her hands were shaking so badly she could barely dial the number. She apologized for everything. The accusations, the lawsuit, the hatred she'd spread about him. Robert cried on the other end of the line. I could hear his voice breaking as he told her he never wanted to take anything from her. He just wanted to honor their mother's last wish. He just wanted to be part of the family she'd always talked about. They agreed to meet in person, and for the first time since Grandma died, I felt hope bloom in my chest. 2 weeks later, we all gathered at a restaurant. The same for sisters who'd fought so bitterly, Robert and me. The air was thick with tension at first. My mother couldn't meet Robert's eyes, but then Robert did something none of us expected. He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out 4 envelopes. He handed one to my mother and each of her sisters. Inside each envelope was a check for $50,000. He explained quietly that Grandma would have wanted her daughters taken care of too. He was keeping the houses because they were filled with memories of his time with her, the only physical spaces where his mother had existed for him. But he was splitting the liquid assets fairly because that's what family does. My mother broke down sobbing right there in the restaurant. She realized in that devastating moment that she'd spent $40,000 fighting someone who Dee planned to share with her all along. She destroyed relationships, spread lies, and caused so much pain. And the person she tried to destroy was showing her more grace than she deserved. Robert reached across the table and held her hand. He told her he understood. He understood the shock, the feeling of betrayal, the fear. He didn't hold any of it against her. That Christmas, Robert came to our family dinner for the first time. It was awkward at first. Nobody quite knew what to say, but my aunt made Grandma's famous pumpkin pie. And when she brought it out, Robert's eyes filled with tears. He said it was his favorite because Grandma had made it for him every time they met. Slowly, cautiously, we started sharing stories about Grandma. And Robert added his own memories from their secret meetings, the time she taught him to play chess, the afternoons they spent at the park. The way she'd hold his hand and apologize over and over. My mother admitted through her own tears that she wasn't angry about the money. She was angry that she'd had a brother all along and never got to know him during all those years. She was angry at times she could never get back. A year later, our family is closer than it's ever been. Robert comes to every holiday, every birthday, every random Sunday barbecue. My kids call him Uncle Rob and climb all over him like they've known him their whole lives. My mother says losing that lawsuit was the best thing that ever happened to her because it taught her that family isn't about money or blood. It's about love and choice and forgiveness. Grandma's secret didn't destroy our family. It revealed who we really were and gave us a chance to become better. I visit Grandma's grave every month now, and sometimes Robert meets me there. We leave flowers and tell her about family gatherings she would have loved. We tell her about how her great-grandchildren are growing, about my mother's new perspective on life, about the hole in our family that we didn't know existed until Robert filled it. She carried the weight of her secret for 50 years, making an impossible choice when society gave her no options. She lived with regret and shame and love all tangled together, but in the end, her love was big enough to find her lost son, bring him home, and force all of us to confront what really matters. Standing there at her grave with my brother beside me, I finally understand what she wanted all along. She wanted her children to know each other, to love each other, to be the family she could never have when it mattered most. And we finally are.